You're listening to the Snob OS podcast, the podcast for Apple snobs. Yo, this is Terrence Gaines, aka Brother Tech.
And this is Nika Monford, aka Tech Savvy Diva.
And welcome back to the Snob OS show, the show for Apple snobs, where we talk all things Apple and then some. We want to thank you back to another episode of the Snob OS show. This is episode 291 of the Snob OS show. So as per usual, we always want to thank those who have been rocking with us for all of these years. We definitely want to thank those who are supporting us financially. If you want to become a financial supporter, please go to patreon.com/snoboscast and become a member of what we lovingly call the Snobists community. And in exchange for that, as a special thank you for that, we give you the show early. We let you listen to the show live while we're recording it, so you can kind of see behind the curtains, and you get access to our Discord community. So we definitely want to say thank you to all those who are supporting us financially. So having said that, we're going to get right into the show. We always start with the Lowdown segment where we talk all things Apple. And I actually have a bunch of things to announce, but I'm going to run through it pretty quick. So first and foremost, I've got some iOS 18.2 news. I got two stories related to that. The first one is the public beta for iOS 18.2 was released this week. And here's what some of the things that are new in the 18.2 beta that's different than the public version of 18.1 that we're all kind of using right now. So here's like a bullet point list of the new stuff that is in 18.2. This is the public beta. This is what you don't have to be a developer. You don't have to pay no fee. You don't have to go jumping through any hoops. You know, you can sign up for the public beta, and as soon as Apple makes those available, you can test them out a little bit early before the public gets it. So right now, everybody who's on the public beta has 18.2, and here's what's new. Videos in the Photos app now play in full screen without needing to tap the screen first to zoom in and out. So compare that to Instagram. If you're clicking on Instagram and you see a video, and then after a while, it kind of goes full screen so you can do more things. Apple kind of did the same thing, but I guess people was mad because they was like, nah, we don't like this.
They were complaining about not seeing the full video when they initially tapped it. I did see some people complain about that. So there's a fix for that.
Yep. Next thing is camera control for those who have the 16 Pro and the 16 Pro Max. No, all the 16s have camera control. Camera control can now open the camera app even if your iPhone 16 screen is off. So if the screen is off or it's locked, you can double click the camera control or however you prompt that, and it'll actually open up. New icons were added for the forthcoming next-gen CarPlay. So if you use CarPlay, the icons will look a little different. The AirPlay icon has been redesigned slightly. I'll never look at it enough to notice. And then the Chat GPT icon in writing tools has lost its AI glow. I'm not sure what that means, but I think the main thing that people
does
like
it mean
Nika
like
mentioned,
when Siri highlights the little border? Is that what they mean?
Oh, okay. So perfect example. So since I have the public beta, here's what happens. If you invoke Siri, when you just press the button or say, hey, Siri, that new halo effect outside of the screen will show up, right? But if you give it a command that invokes ChatGPT, because for those who know and for those who don't, you can just do a normal Siri prompt, but you can also say, hey, Siri, ask ChatGPT to something.
XYZ. Yeah.
When you do that, inside of the halo circle, there's a little thing at the little bar at the top that says Siri is asking ChatGPT, and that glows as well. So I think that's what we're talking about. The ChatGPT icon I'm all wrong. Forget everything I just said. The ChatGPT icon in writing tools lost its AI glow. So when you are typing something in the Notes app and you want to use the writing tools, I think ChatGPT had an icon that glowed that Apple just took out. So maybe they took it out so it won't compete
It
against
won't
the Apple
confuse
Intelligence.
people. Yeah.
Yeah. So
To make them think that that's Apple Intelligence when it's actually not. Okay.
right,
Okay.
right. So that's new in iOS 18.2. But right now, the public still has iOS 18.1, and we're waiting on the public release of 18.2. And it looks like the date has been leaked. So there is a carrier in the UK called EE. They sent a notice to their wireless customers who have iPhones that its shared number service would no longer be available on MacBooks and iPads starting December 9th. As Mac Rumors notes, that's a change expected to take effect with the launch of iOS 18.2 because the second developer beta of the update contains the new carrier settings version, which removes the title toggle related to this feature. So, what this is, you can on your phone in messages and in Wi-Fi calling to answer calls. There, I don't know what the actual feature is, but basically, if you get a phone call on your phone, you can answer it from your Mac or you can answer from your iPad. This particular carrier in the UK, I don't know if it's UK based. I don't know if it's just this specific carrier based, but this carrier said, yo, that feature that y'all love to answer the phone from the Mac or answer the phone from your iPad, Apple took that out and you ain't going to be able to get that starting December 9th. So Mac Rumors and other people did the numbers and said, oh, that must be when iOS 18.2 was going to be released, because once iOS 18.2 is released, that function over in the UK, or even maybe with the specific carrier, it ain't gonna work no more. So we'll see, but it looks like the official release date of 18.2 will be December 9th. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens.
Well, because I know last week when I was looking for stuff for the show, I did see some articles about, or I saw it somewhere that said, 18.2 coming the first week in December. And I was like, oh, maybe that was officially came out. I never looked into it. So maybe all that kind of spurned from this particular leak. But I'm interested to see. So is it just for the UK, this carrier, that you won't be able to answer the phone on any of your connected devices? Is this just for this carrier or is this for everybody?
I read it as it is for this carrier sent
Okay.
out this message for what I
So it's
think.
just for them, maybe.
I think it may be just for them, but I wouldn't be surprised, since the UK and the European Union, they do things a little bit differently.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if all UK carriers will no longer be able to use this feature when iOS 18.2 is released publicly. I wouldn't be surprised. But it doesn't say in the articles that I've seen, it doesn't say, it just says, it keeps saying EE carrier settings. So my guess is it is just for this carrier, which is crazy.
It's really
I'm pretty sure
strange, right?
I'm pretty sure there's multiple carriers over in the UK, similar to how
Oh,
it is
has
over
to be.
here. Yeah. And I don't know if carriers over here have that much different of features carrier to carrier, as apparently they do over in the UK. But we shall see. If anybody's listening from the UK and you're on EE or not, let us know if that feature to where you can answer a phone on your Mac or on your iPad, answer a phone call on your Mac or on your iPad, goes away when iOS 18.2 is released, apparently on December 9th. All right, so moving on to the next story. It looks like airlines are finally starting to see and recognize that we don't trust them no more with finding our luggage, because for the past years, there's been story after story after story after story to where somebody lost their luggage on a trip, popped open they Find My, and tracked their luggage all over the globe and finally found it. And then, make matters worse, there has been stories that we have covered to where the person lost their luggage. They opened up Find My, found the luggage, went to the airline's warehouse where the AirTag on their phone said it was, told the people, hey, I've got
The
this
stuff is over
AirTag
there.
lost luggage. It's in here somewhere. And the people's like, no, it ain't. No, it ain't. No, it ain't. And then back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They finally go back there and boom, they found it. Right.
Hmm.
So the jig is up. Airlines are trash when it comes to finding your luggage using their own systems. So
Yeah.
it seems like more than 15 airlines, including British Airways, Delta Airlines, Qantas United,
Hmm.
Virgin Atlantic, and more global carriers will begin accepting Find My Item locations as part of their customer service process for locating mishandled or delayed bags. So, what do you
Well,
think
duh,
about?
that's a no-brainer.
I mean, but what do you think about admitting defeat? So let me put it in a different way.
Okay.
You run a airline.
Uh-huh.
You tell people, trust us with your luggage. You can even pay money, so for extra convenience or whatever the case may be, and since you're paying this money, we're going to take extra care of your luggage.
Mm.
And then you don't. And then make matters worse, some random person comes up to you with their iPhone and is like, my luggage is
It
here.
says it's right here.
And you're like, trust us, we value our customers and we value
Yeah.
their property, and we go through these stringent, all the
Yeah.
legalese speak. We got these processes, and we'll let you be notified. You can enter your phone number here and be notified when we yada 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 yada. None of that happens. And then come to find out, a rando with a phone and a little puck in their luggage can find their luggage better than you can.
Yeah.
As a airline as a whole that manages millions of customers a year and hundreds of thousands, not millions of bags, and y'all systems can't find one person's bag. So you're like, all right, man. All right.
Guess I gotta
So
do it myself.
I guess I got to do it myself. And make matters worse, you have to concede that your systems do not work. And now you have to use a outside company because their stuff works and yours don't.
Yeah.
That's a
I honestly think they meaning the airlines, they could spin this. I'm surprised they don't already have some sort of partnership with Apple to integrate this technology into their web apps, because I primarily fly Delta. And, when you go into, once you get on your flight, it basically in the app, it tracks you and it tells you where your luggage is kind of like in the process. It may not be the greatest, but they already have, a base in place. They already have a system in place. So you would think that engineers at Apple, engineers at Delta or Qantas or British Airways or whatever, they were like, you know what, let's work together, because I'm tired of people making me look stupid on the internet. Because it's one thing to admit defeat, and it's another thing to say, you know what, this is very helpful to us. We've had to train our people to say, no, 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 when we could just say, you know what, come with me and we'll take you directly to it. And once you get to your AirTag, you hit the button that makes a sound, and then we verify it. We look at the stuff on the ticket that they stick on the luggage and do all the verification. It's like I said, it's a no-brainer to use this to their advantage, because I know when I travel, when I'm on the plane, I check the AirTag location to see if it even made it on the plane. And if it didn't make it on the plane, you can message Delta through the app. And that's the first thing I'm doing. So you could know that I'm in the air if my bag's on the ground. You need to get my bag on the next flight that's going to be at my location, so it can meet me there. So it can be there when I get there or shortly thereafter.
And probably why they've held off so long is because they don't want that to happen. They don't want people to know exactly where their luggage is at all times, because things happen. Luggage gets too full, the plane is too heavy, and just rerouting and logistics, the whole logistics that goes into moving millions of people and moving millions of luggage is probably hard and probably challenging. But what's so embarrassing is me as a regular person with a phone can find my luggage better than you can.
Better
And
than
you've
you
been
can.
doing this for years. You've been
And
doing this
I
for
paid
years.
you to do this, and
Right.
and I think that's the next thing, because Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg is
Mm-hmm.
on these people's backs. If you think about
Mm-hmm.
what happened with the Southwest thing, with
Mm-hmm.
the snowstorm, he was like,
Mm-hmm.
no, if there is a significant delay or you have to change someone's flight, you have to give them people their money back immediately.
Right.
Because at
Right.
first they were trying to say, oh, it takes days. He's like, no, same
Mm-hmm.
day that money needs
Right.
to go. And the next step in this process is, if you lose my luggage, they already have to, if they lose your luggage or your luggage delayed, they have to give you money immediately so that you can
Right.
purchase things you need immediately
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have your
Mm-hmm.
luggage. The next thing is going to be, if you don't get that luggage, there are going to be additional fines or additional
Mm-hmm.
metrics that go with that, that's going to cost the airlines more money. So again, it's a no-brainer for them to use all the things at their disposal, because the next thing that's coming is they're going to have to give up more money if they keep losing people's luggage. And like I said,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm in the air and I check my AirTag, because pretty much most of these planes have free Wi-Fi
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
If my AirTag doesn't say luggage is with me and it has luggage back at the airport,
Right.
oh, sweet baby Jesus, let's open up this app and start a conversation with a customer care agent, because somebody needs to get my luggage from where it is to where I'm going to be.
Mm-hmm. Right now, not whenever y'all think
Mm-mm.
it's supposed to get there. I paid y'all to have my luggage here when I arrive, and it ain't, because I know it ain't, because see, it ain't. You
Because
know.
I know I had my luggage lost. I went to Hawaii one time and my luggage was left at the
Mm-hmm.
airport. I didn't, of course, it was Hawaii. It was a long, flight. Fortunately, I did have, some clothes. I had like one outfit, like
Mm-hmm.
just kind of rolled up in my carry-on bag. I don't even know why I put
Mm-hmm.
it in there. I think I couldn't fit it in my luggage, so I just put it in the carry-on bag that I had, which I was grateful for. But I never travel now if I'm checking a bag
Mm-hmm.
without at least some mini toiletries and a change of clothes on my person, because of that one incident. And it's one of those things where now you have a little bit more, technology has advanced and you have a little bit more leeway to say, yes, I see that my luggage is with me and I won't be without it.
Mm-hmm.
Or it's like, it's not here. So you have enough time to say you need to fix whatever's on your issue to make sure my
Yeah.
luggage is where I am when I get there.
And I'm pretty sure that's the reason why nobody checks bags anymore. And the reason why airlines is constantly asking people, hey, could you please check bags? And people's like, nope, because what you're not
Mm-mm.
going to do is lose my bags, because y'all are notorious for losing my bags. So I'm going to cram this thing to the hilt, and it is not leaving my sight.
Or once you get on the jetway and I see you, you check, you was like, can you put
Tossing
in
my stuff all in the. Mhm.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've seen
Man,
videos to where them dudes is
just
putting that
chunking
stuff
it,
on there.
chunking it.
Yeah, nope. No, thank you. I'll just keep it with
Mm-mm.
me. No, thank you. No, thanks.
I'm going to keep it with me. Thank you very much.
All right. So the next story I got is 404 Media reported that iPhones now stored by police in evidence were rebooting themselves. And turns out it's all due to a new inactivity reboot feature shipping in iOS 18.1. First reported by security researcher Jiska Clausen. This new feature reboots your iPhone if it has gone unused for at least 4 days. So
Hmm.
basically, how this works is Apple on the low released a new feature that if your phone is not actively being used, not like you physically touching it,
Mm-hmm.
after 4 days, it's going to reboot itself. The reason why this is a problem for crooks and the cops, when they
Mm-hmm.
confiscate your phone or when your phone gets stolen, what they
Mm-hmm.
do is they plug it into a computer that runs this software that tries to brute force into your phone. And basically, what
Mm-hmm.
it does is every single password known to man that it can think of, it tries and
It runs
tries and
it.
tries and tries. And that takes days, even weeks. After a couple weeks, some of the smartest criminals or crooks and some of the best software by cops and, the federal agencies or whatever, after
Yeah.
weeks, they can eventually
They
probably
crack it.
crack into your phone. But the
Yeah.
problem with that is if the phone reboots, they got to start all over.
Yeah.
So it is, it's a pro and a con, because, you don't want crooks to be able to hack into your phone and steal your stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you do kind of also want to be a law-abiding citizen, and you want cops to be able to use every information as possible to find a loved one, to solve a murder, to whatever the case may be, right? But what cops are not doing, they're not doing themselves any favors by trying to confiscate your phone. And, you just assume, because you don't know your laws, you may not have a good lawyer, whatever, they just taken your phone and confiscated it. And now they're trying to break into it so they can, find out everything else you're doing, instead of just
Yeah.
arresting me for what you arrested me for. Now you're trying to
Yeah.
find my everything, So now the cops and the crooks is like, dang it. Now we got to
And
figure out a
that's
new Go
a
ahead.
new way around it. And that's my thing. I would love to give law enforcement the benefit of the doubt to say that they are going to they would be using this for good, but I live in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
And in most instances, is not the case. They're probably, a small percentage where they're trying to find someone or, do something altruistic.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be
Mm-hmm.
honest, and most of the
Mm-hmm.
time it's not. It's it's
Mm-hmm.
it's not. They are trying to
Most of the
circumvent. Most time they're trying to circumvent the law.
Yeah,
Illegal
most of the
search and
time.
seizure.
Yeah, most of the time what they're trying to do is see if they pull you over for, let's just say you got drugs in the car, right? And they pull you over and say, "Hey man, we got suspicion that you got drugs in the car."
Uh-huh.
And they do a little search, they pull out the canine dog and they sniff
Uh-huh.
through and they find drugs, right? So they
Uh-huh.
arrest you for the drugs that you had on you in the car.
Uh-huh.
What they trying to do is, let's
Find out where the
see if
other
we can
drugs at.
let's see if we can unravel your whole criminal underground organization. And we
Right.
want to get the names, and we want to get everybody's like, hey,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
hey, man, you arrested me for the drugs you found on me in my car. What you're not going to do
It's
is
try
try
and
to
get what else I got.
unravel my whole investigation without
Woo.
charging me for that stuff. You need to charge me for
Right.
that stuff first,
Right.
then get the warrant, then get
Right.
into the phone. You ain't gonna get into the phone first and be like, see, this is why we need a warrant. That
And
ain't
this is
how
why we
law
pulled them
works.
over. We didn't know they
Right.
had this, but this is why we did it. So again,
Right.
yeah, trying to circumvent the law. And I
Yeah.
think,
That
it's one of
Go
those
ahead.
things is very because I think what was it? The guy, I think it was in San Bernardino when he went on like that shooting spree, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the police were trying to force Apple to unlock his phone
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of set off a whole
Mm-hmm.
series of other things. And so for
Mm-hmm.
them to kind of slide this in under the radar, because I think they already have I'm sure we covered this where they did a law where you have to do a certain amount of things, you have to do some specific things for Apple to give you access to the phone. It's something very
Mm-hmm.
specific. We covered it. I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember what the specifics are, but I just remember it kind of like in the back of my brain. So I think this thing is, again, protecting from thieves and protecting from people who would try and circumvent the law, similar to like the device protection, the stolen device
Mm-hmm.
protection, where you have to wait and you have to re-enter the information again
Mm-hmm.
before you can change certain things. And this is once your phone reboots, you have to type in that password again every
Mm-hmm.
time it's rebooted. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of slick. The only bad thing
Yeah.
now is that people know about it
Sure.
and now they know the time frame. So now they have
Mm-hmm.
to. They are, because criminals
Under
are
the
going to do what
clock.
criminals are going to do. They're like, you know what? We got 48 hours. So now we
Right.
gotta reconfigure this password
Uh-huh.
cracker to do it in 24 hours. So yeah,
Right. Well,
that's the only downside of us finding out about it.
yep. All right. So moving on to the next story. This is more of a local story. Georgia Tech's school. This is probably closer to you.
Yep.
Georgia Tech School of Electrical and Computer Engineering has joined Apple's new Silicon Initiative, a program preparing students for careers in hardware technology, computer architecture, and silicon chip design, according to a press release Tuesday from the school. The program will include expanded coursework for undergraduate and graduate students looking to learn more about microelectronic circuits, hardware design, along with scholarship and fellowship opportunities. Students can also connect with Apple engineers through mentorships, networking events, and guest lectures. So, you being the Georgia Tech graduate in engineering, what do you take of this Apple teaming up with Georgia Tech?
I think this is really cool. We've talked about Apple connecting and teaming up with the AUC, Atlanta University Center, Morehouse, Clark Atlanta, Spelman, and I'm not sure if Morris Brown is included in that, the initiative that they initially started. So I think it's great that they are extending it out to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech is one of the premier, I think it was recently voted the #1 public institution for engineering, I think. So it's one of those things where I think this is smart because this is definitely the talent pool that they'll be
Apple be trying to get.
right. And, in a different life, I, did use my electrical background. I did do some circuitry and hardware design at a company many moons ago. But, I can take some postdoc classes. So I may go and see what they're talking about. And
All right.
I may pop over and take me a little postdoc class to see what Apple Silicon is doing. So, I mean, that's good for me. But yeah, I think it is giving, students more of readiness when they come out of school. Georgia Tech does have one of the highest ROIs for the cost of education to the work that they go into. Very sought after students, and I think Apple is probably being smart with this to say, hey, we already can have a population of students that when they graduate, they are
Are already
already
ready.
familiar with the technology, with the hardware, and they can really just jump in and start working, and we don't have to have too much onboarding time. They are already hands-on. They already know what to expect, know how it works. And it's kind of like a win-win. It's a win for the university, it's a win for the students, and it's a win for Apple. So I think it's pretty dope.
Yep, definitely. All right, so that is going to do it for the lowdown. We're going to move into second string where we talk tech in general, and this is kind of related to Apple, but everybody was hype when RCS came out, and I really haven't heard that much about it since then. But, right, but recently, people have found out that Apple is slowly but surely updating or integrating into RCS. And the latest thing that they found was emoji reactions. So when a person with an Android, and I could have this backwards, a person with an Android sees a message from an iPhone person that says, hey, I'll be there at 5:00. The person with the Android can tap and hold that message and leave a reaction. For instance, a thumbs up, right? On an iPhone, that won't be attached to the message. It'll come through as a totally separate message with the thumbs, right? Which can kind of break up the chain if you have multiple people. If I just put a thumbs up in the group chat with like 5 different people, they like, what you thumbing up, right? And I say no. With the Android, I'm trying to thumb up that message specifically right there. People on iMessage have always had the message reactions to where it attaches it to
the actual
message bubble.
Right.
Well, Apple is slowly but surely updating or integrating more into RCS to where now and it goes both ways. If somebody with an Android sends me a message and I attach the thumbs up to the message, they'll see it attached to the message and vice versa. If they see a message from an iPhone person and they put the thumbs up on the actual message, the iPhone folks will actually see that thumbs up attached to the message and not on a new line as a separate message.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm in a couple of group chats, and one of them, it's 4 people, 3 people iPhone, 1 person Android. And when an iMessage person does the tap back, it comes fine. But when the Android person does, it does in the thread, do a separate line with the tap back. So yeah, great. But
we're getting there.
like you said, everybody was complaining about not having RCS on their Apple devices. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when they talk with people who were on Apple devices,
Mm-hmm.
but nobody seems to be saying anything like, "Oh, I'm glad it's here," or "It's improved my life so much better." It's just
Mm-hmm.
all of the conversation has gone completely away. Nobody apparently has anything to say.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that drama
Yeah,
drives, conversations more than, good news, right? So this is
actually,
definitely good. This is good
yeah.
news. So people are like, "Oh, that's nice." But
They
bad
didn't.
news. Now let this story have been Apple removes tapbacks from Android messages to
It's
where now
all God. What is
people
wrong with you people?
right. People would lose it. But
Lose
Apple's like,
it.
actually, yeah, Apple's like, oh, we're actually making better. People are like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah. People just like to be contrarian for contrarian's sake.
hmm
Not that they
Yep.
really care about the whatever it is they're talking about. Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, that's going to do it for second string. We're going to move into for the culture, and this is also an Apple related story for the culture, um, indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
So Apple released its list of 100 best albums, and how they did it was they released it as a expensive, I think it's like $400 or $500
Like
coffee
book or
table
something,
book.
right?
It's
Yeah.
it's a coffee table book.
Yeah.
That I don't have one, but there's a thing like when you walk into somebody's house and they have the sofa and they have the love seat and they have the chairs and they have all the decor and they have the coffee table in the middle. People put magazines on it. Back in the day, we grew up, we had Ebony and Jet, on that coffee table. But you moving on up,
Yeah.
now
Fancy
what people, yeah, they use fancy coffee table books, and
table
it's
books.
actually a thing, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
Yeah, so Apple released its top 100 albums and put it together in this beautiful, only in Apple fashion, this fancy looking coffee table book. But what
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to highlight was, and they put a note in the story, inside all of that is Apple Music's controversial list of top 100 albums, which was released earlier this year. The top 10 was heavily debated at the
Yep.
top of this release and includes the following records. So I'm going to run through this and just list the top 10.
Okay.
Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, Michael Jackson, Thriller, The Beatles, Abbey Road, Prince and the Revolution, Purple Rain, Frank Ocean, Blonde. This is in order from 1 to 10.
Mm-hmm.
Stevie Wonder, Songs in a Key of Life. Number 7, Kendrick Lamar, Good Kid, Mad City. Number
Mm-hmm.
8, Amy Winehouse, Back to Black.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9, Nirvana, Nevermind. Number 10, Beyonce, Lemonade. That is the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
The 10th being Beyonce. Number 1 being Lauryn Hill, The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I look at this list, I'm like, yeah, that looks about right. But apparently, this has been a debated topic
I
because, and
wonder
what,
why.
right. I was trying to be subtle about it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
It's probably
7.
easy to count the other way around.
Yeah, right. Well, let me do it backwards. 1, 2, 3. There are 7 Black folks or Black groups that have made it into the top 10, with the three being the Beatles, Amy Winehouse, and Nirvana.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't listen to the Beatles. I didn't listen to Amy Winehouse. I didn't listen to Nirvana, but I know these albums and I know people love these albums. So I'm not surprised that these 3 albums are included with this list.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it's the other way around, though. I wonder if people who have never heard Lauryn Hill, never
Mm-hmm.
heard Michael Jackson, which is impossible, never heard Prince, which is impossible, never
Mm-hmm.
heard Frank Ocean, Stevie Wonder, which is impossible, never heard Kendrick Lamar, the year he's having, that's impossible. They've never heard of Beyonce, but say, you know what? People love Lauryn Hill, people love Michael Jackson, Stevie Wonder, Kendrick Lamar, Beyonce. I can understand why they take the top 7, the 7 of the 10 slots.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is that ain't the argument. My guess
No.
is people are upset
Yeah.
that,
It's a little too colored.
yeah,
A little too
that's
much
my,
melanin.
That's my guess as to why this is heavily debated, because you can't
Yeah.
deny Lauryn Hill. Now, I personally have a problem with Lauryn Hill simply because it has nothing to do with her being late at concerts. I have a problem with
Mine is
Lauryn Hill.
100% with her being late at concerts. You've heard my story, and I'm never
Right.
going back.
My beef with Lauryn Hill is she's only had
One
one album, and
solo,
people,
one solo. Can't
one
forget the
solo.
Fugees.
That's what I
One
mean.
solo.
One
Yeah.
solo album with her name on it, and people's like, oh, she's the best R&B, hip hop female rapper to ever live. I'm like, just off of one album? Now, most people are probably including the Fugees. They're including all of her features that she's done, and they're adding that into why. But technically speaking, you have, like, for argument's sake, you got MC Light, you got the Brat, you got
Queen
Queen Latifah,
Latifah,
you got
Missy,
Missy Elliott, you got Rhapsody, you got all of the, hell, you got Little Kim, you got what's the other girl?
Foxy.
No. What's the girl? The weird one. They're all weird now. With the pink. What?
Nicki Minaj.
Yes, Nicki Minaj. You got who's the other one? Cardi B. They've got a bigger catalog than Lauryn Hill. But again, that's just personal beef. But anyway, all of that, I still understand why Lauryn Hill, the Miseducation Lauryn Hill, is on this list, because it was a dope album. People still listen to it.
I still got the CD.
Right. So I can understand. My personal grievances aside, I can understand. But my guess is there are some people there who cannot step out of themselves and put their own grievances aside to understand why some of these people are on it and some people are not. But again, everybody ain't me.
So I will say, I love Miseducation. I mean, seminal work in my youth. It definitely evokes memories, and you could still put it on today. And it is one of those that are timeless. My issue is top 10, okay. Top 20 for sure. Number one, Stevie Wonder's Song in the Key of Life is not
Michael Jackson's
5.
Thriller.
Michael Jackson. And I mean, I love Thriller, but to me, Thriller wasn't even the best Michael Jackson album.
Sure wasn't.
Even though
I think it's yes. It's Off the Wall is mine.
It's Off the Wall.
Yeah.
And I still have that CD. But it's one of those things where that's the thing. And Frank Ocean, I like Frank Ocean, but Channel Orange, I like Channel Orange more than I like.
And for him to come in at
Blonde.
number five over Stevie Wonder, over Beyonce. Yeah. So, but I understand why, and my guess is Apple just truly went, not statistics, but data.
Popularity,
not even that. Just how many times people have played these songs. And people have probably put Miseducation Lauryn Hill on repeat. And Apple tracks all of that. So it's probably just purely how many times did people play Lauryn Hill, Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. If it's more than Michael Jackson, if it's more than the Beatles, and if it's more than Nirvana and Beyonce and Stevie Wonder, then that's number one, because people listen to it more than anything else. So what do you want us to do?
Interesting to see what the metrics are, because it's one of those things where it has to be more than just spins, right? I guess it doesn't have to be, but it kind of has to be, unless they are, looking at like awards maybe, because
Anything
I know
else?
didn't she win like 7 or something? She won like a bunch at one time.
Probably, but anything other than spins is subjective. You're going to get into You're going to put into, well, she only has one catalog. Then that's when, she, Beyonce started a whole movement and now she's worth $1 billion. I'm like, well, that ain't got nothing to do with the spins though. Right. Yeah. So Apple's like, look, we're going to stay objective, and it's just, I'm guessing here, and we're going to say how many times people listen to these albums versus anything else. Now you can love your favorite artist all day long, but they ain't playing them to ad nauseum, then they ain't gonna make the list. And again, I'm speculating, but that would be my guess.
Unless the only other thing I could see that they would maybe take into account is sales, because like pure sales, from, what is it, the RIAA? Because if that's the case, some of these are, pre-streaming. So if you think of Thriller, how
Hmm.
many Thriller albums were sold before we even had anything called streaming? So I could see maybe there's a combination of plays and maybe albums sold, because that's not subjective,
And
I don't think.
there's some good artists on here. Going to the
Yeah.
link, and they've got a
Yeah.
link called 100best.music.apple.com, and they're
Uh-huh.
kind of doing like a carousel of all of
Mhm.
the album covers, and they've got Nas, they got Janet Jackson, they got
Aquemini, I saw
Tribe
Outkast
Called
go.
Quest, they got Solange, they got Miles Davis. They've got Kanye's on here, Lady Gaga's on here, Nina
Marvin
Simone
Gaye's
is
on
on
here.
here, yeah, Daft Punk is on here, so these are some,
Heavy
this is a
hitters.
good, yeah, Mary J. Blige is on here. Again, to me, it goes to how many times
How they
people
ordered it.
listened,
Yeah.
right? How many times people listened to these songs. People can love the Beatles, but if
Yeah.
you ain't listening to them
Yeah.
until they, do a reunion tour or somebody does a cover, that
Yeah.
don't count to how many times you press play on your iPhone.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
press play on your iPhone a million times, that takes the number one spot.
Yep. Yep. And again, I've heard of Abbey Road. Of course, I've heard of the Beatles. Have I heard anything from that? No.
I ain't never
I
listened to nothing to Beatles
I
outside of what comes
I
on a
don't know.
commercial.
Right.
If it comes on a
N-
commercial, I'm like, oh, that's a Beatles song.
Yeah. Now, Back to Black, I've pretty much heard everything on here except the Beatles.
Right. Yep. So,
Yeah.
all right. So that's going to do it for the culture. We're going to move into the hookup, and this is a feature that's not new or not anything that's hidden, but just people don't really use it. And I think you should use it more. It
I use it
is
all the time.
the back tap feature, and basically what that does is you can go into the accessibility settings, and this is of course for people who have a disability or have a handicap or whatever the case may be,
Mhm.
and they need another way to interact with their phone. So Apple released this back tap feature to where you can set it up to where you can tap the back of your phone with a finger or a thumb or whatever the case may be, and you can set that up to do a specific function. So way you do it is, of course, you got to have the latest version of iOS. Then if you go to settings, you go to accessibility, you go to touch, and then back tap. Once you back tap, you can then choose if you wanted to do a double tap or you want to tap it 3 times, because I set it up back in the past on 2 taps, and then I'll just be doing something on my phone and something will happen. It's like, all right, I need to change it. So I changed it to a triple tap, and you can actually choose that action. So for example, I've used it to take a screenshot because I do a lot of posting articles and stuff to the internet.
Mhm.
I want to screenshot the article. And so instead of just trying to get my fingers around to touch the 2 buttons, take my finger on the back of the phone, tap it 3 times, and it automatically takes that screenshot. And you can do it for a bunch of stuff. You can do it for opening a specific app. You can actually set it up for a shortcut. If you're into iPhone shortcuts, you can tap that thing 2 or 3 times, and you can start it to do any sort of automation, turn on and off lights, lock and unlock doors, whatever the case may be. But I just wanted to surface that feature because I think a lot of people, I think it's
Missing
underrated.
out.
Yeah, I think it's an underrated feature. So that is my hookup for the week. If you
Nice.
need to figure out if there's something that you do on the
All the
regular
time.
all the time, you can go through and set up that iPhone back tap feature.
I have my double tap set to do open the camera and the triple
Mhm.
tap set to do a screenshot,
Yep,
because
and
I'm
you can do it.
screenshotting things all the time.
Yep, and it don't have to be just 2 or 3, like Nika mentioned. You can 2 taps can do one thing, 3 taps can do something else. So definitely
Yep.
try it out. Let me know if you like it. Tell us what you set it up to do. All right, so that's going to do it for the hookup. And Nika, if you don't have anything else, that's going to do it for this week's show. Tell the folks where they can find you.
You can find me at Tech Savvy Diva everywhere. And with the impending changes over on that Bird app, a lot of people have moved over to other apps. I've been on Blue Sky since the very beginning, and I got off Blue Sky because it was pretty racist over there. But then they fixed, some
Oh,
of their
did they?
races. Oh yeah, it was
Uh,
not good. So much so I delete the app from my phone.
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And so apparently they heard the people and they
Mhm.
fixed it. So I'm back. I installed the app again.
Okay. All right. All right. So I don't use Blue Sky, but I use Spill app. I think it was created. Blue Sky was created by ex Twitter people.
Hmm.
Spill was created by ex Twitter people as well, and it is a black
Except for
owned
black
app,
folks. Yeah.
right? And I think the owner is black, and I think he's a part of the LGBTQ community.
Okay.
So
Nice. I
yeah, I've
have
been on
spilled
there.
some,
Yep,
but I
I've
don't.
been trying.
I've been trying to get into spill, but I think for me, I know you can do text, but most people
Hmm.
use like images and gifs,
Hmm.
and that's kind of hard to. I'm really trying to make a concerted
Yeah.
effort, but it's not it's not a one-to-one for
No, it's
Twitter
not.
if that's what you're
It's not.
expecting. Blue Sky
Yeah.
is more of a one-to-one.
Right.
Spill is a different
Yeah,
cultural
it is.
type of environment. So
And I was looking for something different because, Threads, Twitter, X, all of them have the same type of
microblogging.
functionality.
Yeah.
And that brings over the same type of attitudes and the same
Yeah.
type of people.
Yeah.
Versus I was looking, all right, I need to do something completely new. So Spill does have a different interface. It's almost a mesh of Instagram and Twitter, but
Yeah.
it's not a retweet, it's not a comment, it's not a repost. They all new names, all new icons,
It's
and it is
definitely a
visual,
mind it's definitely
right?
a mind switch you have to
Yeah,
do.
but you can. I would say to you, don't feel discouraged if you can't find a perfect gift or picture or meme or whatever the case may be. Because what's dope about Spill is when you do just do text, it is bold enough to where it could be its own picture. So
Yeah.
it's not like a little quote, little line or whatever the case may be. It's like big and bold. So I do appreciate that. Only problem is with Spill, there's not a lot of people there. So
Yeah.
you can get to the end of the feed.
Of your feed. Have you
You get
tried
to
Fanbase? That's another black owned one. I haven't, but
I
it's
have not.
from Isaac Hayes,
Isaac
the
Hayes the
singer, but
third.
it's his son. Yeah.
Hmm. The only thing, the thing, my hang up with fan base is it's video based, and I'm not good with video.
Oh,
Right.
I didn't realize that. I've just seen
Yeah.
since all this stuff is coming out was supposed to be happening on the 15th. If you're
Hmm.
listening to the show, it's already that day.
So give us some background. What's happening? Give us the
So
specifics.
there was I did a screenshot of it because I didn't want to talk about it. And it completely slipped my mind until we got to this point. But starting on Friday, the terms and services for Twitter X
Hmm.
have changed or are changing, and essentially is basically one. It's removing a lot of the protections that people have to be able to sue them. The
Hmm.
other thing is, now you can opt out of using Grok or having your data trained. That's
Hmm.
going away as well.
Oh,
Whatever you
wow.
put on
Hmm.
X is going to be
Used.
is going to be um you're basically, by using the app, you're saying yes,
They own your
you can
data.
trick. They own your
Hmm.
data. They can profit off of it,
Hmm.
benefit from it. All of
Hmm.
all of those things that
Hmm.
people are like, I don't know if I want that. But it's one of those things where it is. That's kind of what I think. It was an article from the New York Times
Hmm.
that basically dug into the details of that. But the two biggest things were, the legal protections of being able to sue Twitter,
Hmm.
X, whatever you want to call it, and the fact that basically we've always talked about how an app that's quote unquote free is not really free. Your data is the price. This is
Right.
just kind of like ratcheting it up a lot, so much so
Yeah.
that people are very concerned,
Hmm.
especially with you know Muskie and
Hmm.
now his newfound power in the federal government. He's
Sure.
been It's been announced that he's going to head up an agency along with Vivek Ramaswamy,
Hmm.
in regards to
Something
government
about
efficiency,
efficiency or yeah.
and redundancy, and all those types of things. So people are really concerned
Hmm.
that they will have no recourse. And a lot of people are deleting their photos and their videos off of.
Deactivating their account, and yeah,
No,
not
they're
just
before they even deactivate, they're deleting
oh
their
wow, physically.
they're physically deleting their media. Because if you're an artist and you are trying to promote your art,
Sure.
those types of things, you have your music on there, those types of things. And
Is there an easy way to do that? Because I've been on Twitter since 2008. That
mm,
is 10
a lot.
what? That is a lot of data to be manually deleting. I assumed
So that's
what
like
I
15
saw.
years. Because if you
Yeah.
think 2028 will be 20 years, so yeah, it's like
Hmm.
15 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So my assumption, what I've seen a lot of people doing is they're downloading their data off of Twitter and saving it
Hmm.
somewhere, and then they're deactivating their account, not just deleting the app or just logging out of Twitter. They're actually downloading and then deactivating their actual Twitter account. Now you're telling me they're actually manually deleting their data pictures over there? Well, hey,
Yeah. Because it says, I'm reading.
if that's what you feel like you got to do.
So, from an article on CNN, it says when X unveiled its new terms of service, which go into effect on November 15th, users quickly picked up on one change. Quote, by submitting, posting, or displaying content on or through the services, you grant us the worldwide, non exclusive, royalty free license to make
Mm,
your content available to the rest of the world, the terms of service says, which includes the right to analyze any of the content, including, for example, use with and training our machine learning and artificial intelligence models, whether generative or another type. By
mm,
basically continuing to use this, you're saying they can train on your data no matter the form,
mhm.
and they have exclusive access to basically monetize it
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
world.
Yeah, I wonder if deactivating the account doesn't. I'm assuming
I
deactivating
don't
it does
think
not
so.
delete it.
I think that's why people are physically deleting
Mm,
the images, even though
mm,
they're likely stored on a server somewhere. Maybe just
sure.
give people, some peace of mind
Or
um,
yeah,
when
feel
it
like they're
comes to
doing
that.
something. Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those things where starting on Friday, um, anything you post, just know that you don't have control over it anymore.
Yeah. Well, so I deleted my app on off of my phone. I
Hmm.
may just go forward and go ahead and deactivate the account. Again, that's easy for me to do because I'm not an artist and I don't source clients and I don't get income or revenue from Twitter and I don't have a million followers. So I'm pretty sure there are some people with hundreds of thousands,
Yeah.
if not millions of followers who can't just be like, all right, I'm off this.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
their livelihood or a nice portion of it may depend
Revolves
on
around
those
that.
just having those numbers to say I've
Yeah.
got 800,000 people
Think of
followers on
influencers,
Twitter.
though.
Right,
Yeah, those are
right,
metrics
right.
that they have to have. And I
And so I get
remember,
it.
yeah, I remember downloading my data when Muskie first bought it. I haven't downloaded it again because if I remember he fired a bunch of people and people
Mhm.
were trying to download because you can download an archive.
Mhm.
Two-factor was broken, and you have to have two-factor to download your archive.
Mhm.
The SMS wasn't working. So, I may take a look at it tomorrow to see if I can, download another archive, but I'm not very
Mhm.
confident because they've taken away, pretty much the whole trust and security team left
Mhm.
when Muskie took over. So it's one of those things where, you know, I mean, at this point, I think you just have to charge it to the game and just know going
Yeah.
forward, anything else you
Yeah.
put on there is screwed.
Yeah. So all the way around the world to say we are no longer on Twitter or X. We are now on Blue Sky. But if you want to find out all that information and more, please go to snoboscast.com and get all of those details. And until next week, we are out. Peace.
Bye, everybody.